speaking with various journalists who have suffered harassment, assault, and trials and tribulations while they've been in the practice of journalism. Today we've got a journalist from the Zim Morning Post, Mr. Fanwell, who has been narrating to us various issues, the trials and tribulations, and the persecution that you have suffered as journalists. More importantly, we are zoning into an event that we all witnessed and that we've been publicizing around, and that you have been talking about in the first segment, where you were beaten up by police officers while you were covering a certain demonstration that happened in August last year. And before we took this break, you were saying that you still have pain in the same arm, correct?
Yes. Basically, you know, with these things, there is no way you can recover. Maybe if you go under therapy, I think so. Because by just growing up, knowing that you are a law-abiding citizen, and one day, you know, the saddest part with my case is I was beaten. When I was beaten, the police didn't arrest me. They didn't charge me for anything. And up to now, I still don't know what crime did I commit. What exactly did I do? They know me exactly. If I had committed a crime, they were supposed to issue a warrant of arrest, but nothing has been done like that. They tried, they lied to the media that they have spoken to me. Various government officials issued statements saying they had apologized, but I never received an apology. And up to now, I still don't understand what crime did I commit. And the people that know me now, they don't understand. They still think that I committed a crime then. I still wait for that day when my name will be cleared. Because in the eyes of many people, I'm still a criminal who evaded arrest. Mm-hmm. They think that when the car that came to ferry me off, it was a way of me trying to evade arrest. I've tried to make noise about it. I've tried to seek justice, but up to now, nothing has happened. And that's what pains me most, besides me having a permanent fracture.
Fanny, I just need to understand something. So since this issue happened, have you ever tried to press any charges against the police? Did you try to get any justice since this incident?
Yes. I have tried to take it to the courts, but my case is still being postponed here and there. At one time, they called my lawyers from the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights. They called them and tried to have an out-of-court settlement, because I'm suing them for the pain caused. I'm suing the police for the pain caused, but they haven't responded to anything like that. And I was supposed to have, just before the COVID, we were supposed to have gone for, what do they have a term, they call it, something whereby my part and their part meet at a round table to discuss the issue. And since then, they've been trying to, and just when the lockdown measures were reduced, my lawyers tried to contact the police, but they were just saying, we are tied up. And he has tried to push it to court, and the courts are just saying we are not handling such cases at the moment. They're giving because they are not emergency cases with this COVID. And I still feel that it's another way to postpone justice.
Yours is not a criminal case. I'm sure this is a civil case.
It's a civil case.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the courts of law, they're saying that they're not giving agency to a civil case. Are they not dealing with any other civil cases?
That's what I still don't understand. Mm-hmm. That's why what I still don't understand, which brings me to the case that it might be a way to delay my justice, to delay my justice so that I might forget about it. I might give up and say enough is enough. But you know what? I'm one of the people who always say that I'm not going to give up, because if I give up as an individual, I would have let down my fellow journalists who still think that justice has to be served. Justice has to be served, and I don't think I'm going to give up on that.
Some people would obviously whisper into your ears, maybe in the dark of the night, and say, well, you can't expect state to sue another state arm, and you're basically wasting your time to try and press charges against the police using this Zimbabwean cause of law, because many people have doubted the independence of the judicial system with the arms of the state. Is this come to you, and how does that make you feel?
Well, yes, this is one of the reasons why it took me long to try to get justice, because some other people were saying, this case is not going anywhere. This case is not going anywhere. How do you expect the police how do you expect the courts to sue to give a judgment that is against the police? But you know what? I remember my lawyer told me that there is no way I could give up. Why? Because at the end of the day, giving up is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That's what my lawyer told me. So if this is a permanent problem, if police brutality against a journalist is a permanent problem, we need to deal with it. We need to say, at the end of the day, what are we doing as journalists? What exactly are we doing? Because my lawyer could, if I tell him to give up, he can give up. He can let the case go.
It's within the struggle that you need to keep on.
It is within the struggle. It is not only for me, but it is for my young brother who is doing Form 4 today, who aspires to be a journalist tomorrow.
True.
It's about my young my young son who always emulates me when he sees my articles, when he sees me appearing on TV, when he sees some of the work that I do, and he says, I want to be a journalist. If he says he wants to be a journalist, then there is this other issue of police brutality that is there. If I give up now, what precedents am I setting?
For the next generation.
For the next generation, yes.
Fanny, we just need to cross over to this video. I know we've spoken a lot about this video where we managed to capture exactly what transpired, thankfully. And I think to our viewers, if you just watch it so that you understand what we're talking about and how he was actually brutalized, harassed, assaulted and beaten up until he had a fractured arm while he was covering in the field.
Tell your boss. I'll talk to your boss.
You can literally see that the police officer, he kept coming for you up until you had to run for dear life there. And there was a moment where you were surrounded by police officers there. What was happening?
That's when the whole beating happened. It happened in a space of 5 seconds, but
So they were actually beating you inside that?
Inside that, they were actually beating me. And it happened in a space of 5 minutes.
And there seems to be a police officer who is commanding or who is supervising. And obviously these police officers are known. And since this video went viral, did they identify these police officers? Was there any form to say, well, let's look into this and let's talk to the police officer to even apologize? I know you said there was no apology sent, but were they identified who exactly they were?
I have the pictures. I have tried to give my lawyers the pictures. Because just before they attacked me, I had been taking
Pictures before.
pictures of them, and one of the police officer that I still know, and I have seen him almost in every demonstration. I'm now forgetting his name, but he's light in complexion. He was the officer in command.
Oh, that's the Dispo Huarare.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
Was he there? Was he close by?
Not the dispo. He, I think he is way junior. Not the dispo, the colored,
Okay.
the colored
Right.
one. Not the dispo. He is kind of light in complexion, a bit fat.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he is one of. I think he is the police officer who even called, let us teach you a lesson. He is the police officer who said, let us teach you a lesson. And you know, the picture, the video, it just shows what happened in 30 seconds or 40 seconds. But the whole debacle, I think it took about a minute or so. And when you guys came in, it was just we had already finished the talking, and they were demanding for my blood. They were begging for my blood then. Yeah.
So by the time we got there, we actually managed to capture just the assault incident.
Just the assault incident. Yeah.
So I know. Apologies. This is not the best of the situations to walk into and to get back home to say, well, you thought you were going to be spending any other normal day, and then you get back home from such an incident. Has this ever happened to you besides this activity, a particular moment? Have you ever suffered any brutality, harassment, or assault at the hands of the security arms in your practice as a journalist?
In my practices as a journalist, I think this was the most brutal part in my life where I got beaten.
Had you suffered any before or after?
After I haven't, but I have, for several times, I have been embarrassed. Several cases, on several occasions, I've been embarrassed by, just for performing my duty. Sometimes I'm just told, switch off your camera.
That's harassment from police officers,
from the
or security details.
Yes, and you are just told, switch off your camera, or can you just sit there? What are you doing? Sit there. Then I'm made to sit maybe for 30 minutes without even knowing what crime did I commit. It has happened to me on several occasions. And you know what? When I covered that demonstration, it took me almost 4 months before I covered any other demonstration. And the only reason why I had to go and cover the demonstration after that 4 months is because there was no one else at our newsroom to cover demonstrations. I'm still skeptical even up to now. When there is a demonstration, I always make sure that I am way far from the whole debacle, because I still think that I might incur the same problem that I incurred
So
then.
in other words, they've managed to instill fear and a lot of caution you're now practicing, which was driven by that incident, so to say.
Yes, because I think what they do is to instill fear in your mind, to the extent that when you want to tell a story, when you want to cover any political story, you start thinking of what happened back then. You start thinking of what happened back then, the negative sentiments that were given by people surrounding you. You start thinking of that, and you say, why should I be reporting this? Why should I be reporting this? And I tell you, this is not only about me. I've had several journalists who have been detained now say, if I'm not going to the demonstration. I'm not going to report politics. I'm not going to report about police brutality. They are always saying that, not because of anything, but because of that particular incident that happened in their lives. Yes.
Would you think that you would maybe in the short to long term consider quitting reporting such volatile news occurrences? Does it come to your mind at any given point that, well, I should not be there, this is not a place for me to cover anymore? Do you have such thoughts?
Well, like I said, I didn't get into journalism because I wanted to put food on my table. I got into journalism because I wanted to tell a story that no one else is telling. And I always tell everybody that the rest, news is what they don't want you to say. The rest is public relations. So just by thinking that, I think that I haven't reached, I can safely say that I haven't reached that point where I say I don't want to. Yes. I can just tell you that I can take a rest and say it's too deep, it's too risky. Let me take a back seat. But to say I have thought of quitting totally, I'll be lying.
Okay, looking from all these activities that have happened, we are all media practitioners and we wake up each and every single day to practice constitutional minded as Section 662 allows us to do. Do you think that the authorities, the government, and various players are doing enough to make sure that all journalists and various media practitioners are protected by the law? Do you think that they're doing enough to make sure that journalism is safe and journalism as a whole is not criminalized?
I think they are not doing enough. They have a lot that they could do. To just looking back to my case, I tell you what, I got beaten in August 2019, but in June, the president had was speaking at a rally, and he said, "We know some certain journalists that are being called whenever the opposition want to have a demonstration or when they want to cause chaos, they call journalists, they call lawyers, they have journalists on their side, they have lawyers, they have doctors who are always saying we will protect you. And I tell you what, we are going to deal with those people." He said he would be dealing with the journalists, you will be dealing with the lawyers and the doctors who will be covering the demonstrations. And if you hear such utterances from a president, I think there is little that they are doing. A journalist is assaulted. It takes the Minister of Information and Publicity more than a day or two before she utters a statement. Someone is arrested, a journalist is arrested for performing his duty. It takes more than 3 hours to be released. And when he is released, there is no statement that is issued by the police to say, or the Minister of Home Affairs to say, this what has happened is not right. It takes them long before they issue statements, and sometimes they just issue statements out of international pressure, out of social media pressure, out of pressure from the civil society. It's not honest. So I think if they really want to make a difference, there is a lot that they could do, and the first they could do is just reprimand the police officers and the soldiers.
When the president makes such a statement that you've alluded to, that we are going to be dealing with those people. And we know they're journalists, we know they're lawyers and doctors, and the president himself makes such a statement. How does that sink in with you?
Well, to me, I think there is a lot that the presidency, not the president alone. It's about the presidency, because the presidency is an office. The president is an individual. So it's about the presidents. The president needs to know that journalism is provided for in Section 62 of our Constitution.
Correct.
There is also the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression. It's there. So when you tell someone that I will deal with you, definitely, to me, what comes to me is maybe I'm going to be the next Itai Zamara. Maybe I'm going to be the next Hopwo Chingono. Maybe I'm going to be the next Mduduzi Matutu. I'm going to run away from my home. That's what I think. And I think the presidency has a lot to just do to stop the brutality against the journalists.
So these things have been going on for a long time, and many journalists are asking, so what next, and who is next, and what do we need to do? Because definitely there's a strong component that is criminalizing us as journalists and our craft that we do and that we wake up to do each and every single day. Do you think that there's something that we could do as well as journalists that we are not doing, that we could have done to make sure that we also aid to our own security?
Well, the first thing is I believe that we need to be united as journalists, whether you are from the state media or from the private media, because today you are operating as a journalist at the state media. Tomorrow you're going to lose your job and you're going to look for a job in the private media. Or today you are working in the private media, but tomorrow you might get a promotion, you might get a better offer at the state media, and you're going to be working in the state media. The same things that you were, if we are not united as journalists, the same fate that the private media is facing today, you're going to face it when you leave the state media. That's the first thing. Then the second thing, I believe that as journalists, we control the media. So if we control the media, if we speak with one voice, if we utter statements, if we write articles, if we put pressure on when we go to the press cabinet, post cabinet briefing there, if we make our voice be heard, I think unlike the opposition, I think we are strategically positioned to make changes. Unlike the civil society who took to the civil society, they might take long before they meet the president, before they meet the ministers. But we meet ministers every day. And I believe that if we are speaking with one voice, we can put pressure on them. We can lobby. We can lobby with the parliamentarians. We can lobby with the ministers. We can lobby even with the president and make a difference. Then the second thing, if I'm going to be honest with this, if this continues, I think it's high time we take it to the streets.
That's on a much more aggressive note, because journalism and journalism as a whole craft has been criminalized, and we need to continuously engage and make sure that we do the best that we can with the resources that we've got there. Because we cannot then be practicing and it becomes a field where you don't know whether or not you are going to be safe or whether or not you're going to come back home after you practice a constitutionally mandated role as various journalists. And just before we close this show, I'll bring it back to you, Fanny. Do you have any last parting words that you may want to share with your viewers, your readers, and as well as those people who get to consume the content that you produce?
What I would just want to say is journalism is not a crime, and my profession, just because it's being threatened, it doesn't make me a terrorist. It doesn't make me a criminal. It's just my profession that is being terrorized. It just is, and I would wish that at one time, that one day, we will be able to speak through this and say we had a fight and we managed to win it.
True. That is the power there of coming all together as a sector, all together as a voice, as we continuously insist and continue to say that journalism can never be criminalized and journalism is not a crime. This is our clarion call that we're having as various media players and as various online content creators. We keep saying that journalism is not a crime, journalism cannot be criminalized. And of course, to all the viewers and everyone who's been watching this show, and those who just started watching us from today, we continuously say that journalism can never be criminalized, and let's not get used to normalizing abnormal situations. As and whenever we are caught up or found in these situations of adversity and these kind of external pressures, let's come out there and speak out, and let's become our own heroes of our own struggle. No one else is going to come out and free us as various media players, but continuously, as the fourth estate, I think we need to defend our territory and continuously come together and stand out and say journalism is not a crime. My name is Tommy. It's been a pleasure to have you guys watching us live across most platforms of various online content creators there. We thank you to all our valued partners and all the online content creators who are coming together as a unity and as a voice to continuously say that journalism is not a crime. We're reaching you out to all of you. Thank you so much for this time. We appreciate it. And for me and the crew behind the scene, it's a wrap.